gathering up all the books that I've bought over the past couple months, I realised that I've got a lot more than I thought I did. I want to say this is 2 months of physical books. 2 months? I think it's about 2 months. So it's not that bad. So at the end of October, I took a very unplanned, on my part, trip to Cardiff to see Bastille. I think I found out I was going to be going like 2-3 days before we did. And of course, when you take 4 literature students to a city, they want to go to the secondhand bookshops. So while I was there, I picked up a couple of children's books. I'm going to start with the children and young adult fiction. If you're not interested in that, I will leave a little time sign somewhere to where you can skip to the other genres and categories. I've already spoken about these 2 in a wrap-up, so I will be very quick. I got A Series of Unfortunate Events, book the 8th, The Hostile Hospital, and book the 9th, The Carnivorous Carnival. These were the next 2 books that I needed to continue with my reread of the series. I was very excited when I saw these 2. And to skip forward over a month, it was my birthday quite recently, and randomly my friend Dan appeared, who lives like 2 doors down. He knocked on my door at like 10 to midnight or something, and he gave me this, which is The Ocean at the End of the Lane by Neil Gaiman. I have a ton of Neil Gaiman books and I've not read any of them, and I really want to fix that. I think this is going to be a fantastic place to start. Dan really didn't need to get me a present. I was so shocked and overwhelmed and surprised, and he left a really cute note in it, and I have very good friends. They are the best. I don't know a whole lot about this book. I think it is sort of an examination of childhood, and it is children's fantasy. So I'm really looking forward to diving into this one and seeing exactly what it's all about. Over the past couple of months, I also got a number of classics. Through one I've already mentioned in the wrap-up, but I got the complete short fiction of Oscar Wilde. I picked this up for £2 second-hand. The spine is quite battered, but that really doesn't bother me at all. I love the signs of a well-loved book. Oscar Wilde is very well known for The Picture of Dorian Gray and also his play The Importance of Being Earnest, but a lot of people don't know that he actually wrote fairy tales and short stories, and this is all of his short fiction in one book. All of the books that I mentioned in this video that I've already read, I will leave links to the wrap-ups they are mentioned in down below in case you're interested. I also picked up Henry James's What Maisie Knew. I will be talking about this in my December wrap-up, so I won't talk about it too much, but this is about a young girl named Maisie whose parents have separated, and she lives with each parent for 6 months at a time. What Maisie Knew has a lot to do with child psychology and what it is like to be a child and the power of being quiet and observant. I think this is a really fascinating book. But yeah, I will talk about it more in my December wrap-up. On to some stuff I haven't actually read yet. Here's another book that I picked up on that trip to Cardiff, and it is Persuasion by Jane Austen. It is the beautiful Penguin English Library copy. I love the Penguin English Library books so much. The bookshop that I got this from gave me this bookmark, and it is called Troutmark. It was a really cute little bookshop, and if you're in Cardiff, I would highly recommend checking it out. Persuasion is Jane Austen's last novel, and I don't know a huge amount about it. It says on the back that it is the story of Anne Elliot, who was persuaded to break off her engagement to the man she loved because he was not successful enough, but she has never forgotten him. I think purely based on the size, this will probably be my next Jane Austen novel. I have been trying to make my way through all of her books because I realised I hadn't read any and was kind of ashamed. So yeah, I'm really looking forward to getting to this one. Next book I picked up the other day on a little shopping trip with my friend Mary, and that is Virginia Woolf's Mrs. Dalloway. I did have another copy of this. It was a Penguin Classics edition, but it was a bit battered, and I decided to get rid of it and replaced it with this like brand new one that was second hand. This was like £2 and it is in perfect condition. It doesn't even look like it's been read. Set on a hot London day in June 1923, Mrs. Dalloway explores both the raw hold of the past and the brighter potential of the future. The tragedy of the First World War is still a vivid presence, and the constraints of time and the freedoms of the mind, the abuse of power and the force of love, are themes that intertwine as the day unfolds. Clarissa Dalloway is the wife of an MP and an assured socialite, yet as she prepares for her party, the links between her and the shell-shocked Septimus Warren Smith become ever more apparent. This is a modernist piece of fiction, and I believe it is written in stream of consciousness. I haven't actually read any Virginia Woolf apart from her non-fiction, and I've been meaning to pick this up for the longest time, so I'm really looking forward to diving into it and seeing what it's all about. A lot of my friends have read it recently for one of their literature modules, so I really am intrigued by this one. The next book I picked up on that same shopping trip was William Trevor's Felicias Journey. I hate the cover of this. I hate it so much. But I did really, really want to reread this one. So when I saw it for like £1, I think it was, I really wanted to pick it up. William Trevor unfortunately passed away fairly recently, and I really remember reading Felicia's Journey in school and it leaving such a massive impact on me. So that's why I want to reread. This is about a young Irish girl named Felicia who falls pregnant and goes off to the UK to try and find the father of her child. While she is searching for him in Birmingham, she bumps into Mr. Hilditch, who is a much older man, and some stuff happens. It's a bit of a thriller, to be honest. You don't really know who is moral, who is going to do the right thing. You don't know how sinister things are going to get. I think this is a really fantastic book and I would highly recommend it. I think it was on National Poetry Day, Seren did a really fantastic half-price sale on all of their poetry collections, and I couldn't resist and picked up 3. The first of which I've spoken about before, and that is Caroline Smith's The Immigration Handbook. I was lucky enough to meet Caroline. She was utterly fantastic. She worked as an asylum caseworker for a London-based MP, and this poetry collection tells some of the stories of the people that she encountered while working within that job. These poems are utterly fantastic, and the collection isn't really political, it's just telling people's stories, and I think that's wonderful, and it's something I would really like to be able to learn from and replicate. The next collection I want to talk about is Tiffany Atkinson's Kink and Particle. Tiffany actually used to be a lecturer at my university before my time, so I'm really intrigued to see what this one is all about. I believe it has a lot to do with womanhood and the experiences of being a woman, all the way from childhood up to someone on the brink of their 30th birthday. Sounds like exactly the kind of thing that I absolutely love in poetry, so I cannot wait to get to this one. And the final poetry collection I want to talk about is Katrina Naomi's The Way the Crocodile Taught Me. I picked this up purely because the cover and the title sounded so intriguing to me. I'm just going to read you a couple of quotes from the back. In this book, she reveals a childhood fraught with family dislocation, upsets, and even occasional violence, and finds through her art moments of grace, humour, and redemption. I love The Way the Crocodile Taught Me for Katrina Naomi's cool voice and fierce eye, for her humour and compassion, for her cast of colourful characters, from a cross-dressing stepfather to the Cray twins and a dubious llama. This sounds bonkers, and it sounds brilliant, and why wouldn't you want to pick this one up? It sounds fantastic. Moving on to some general fiction, the first book I want to talk about is Mr. Fox by Helen Oyeyemi. You may have heard of Helen Oyeyemi for What Is Not Yours Is Not Yours, I think it's called. And I don't know a huge amount about this book, I just knew the author's name, and when I saw this for £1, I thought, why not? It's a bright afternoon in 1938, and Mary Fox is in a confrontational mood. St. John Fox, a celebrated novelist, hasn't seen her in 6 years. He's unprepared for her afternoon visit, not least because she doesn't exist. He's infatuated with her, but he also made her up. You're a villain, she tells him, a serial killer. Can you grasp that? Will Mr. Fox meet his muse's challenge to stop murdering his heroines and explore something of love? What will his wife Daphne think of this sudden change in her husband? And can there be a happy ending this time? This sounds really fascinating. I'm really looking forward to trying out some of Helen Oyeyemi's writing for the first time. You may remember me mentioning that I had worked in a publishing house for a couple months. If you somehow missed that video, I will link it down below where I talk about it in a bit more detail. But they gave me 2 more books, the first of which is The Seasoning by Manon Stephen Ross. I hope I've pronounced that properly. I don't know a huge amount about this one other than it won Wales Book of the Year, so it must be fantastic. I'm going to give this one a read very, very soon and will hopefully be arranging an event with the author, which is quite exciting. At the start of every chapter it has a recipe as well, which I think is really cool. And the next one I am very excited about. It is The Vegetarian Tigers of Paradise by Crystal Jeans. This book is set in the 90s and it is about growing up in the 90s and what it's like when you don't really fit in properly. This sounds absolutely brilliant and it's the kind of fiction that I really, really enjoy, so I'm really looking forward to getting to this one as well. I'm going to whiz through a couple of non-fiction books really quickly. I picked up A New Woman Reader, which is edited by Carolyn Christensen Nelson. This is a literature-based non-fiction book. It is about the emergence of this idea of the new woman in literature. This is really relevant for my degree scheme, so I thought it would be a really great book to pick up. I'm getting more and more into owning literary criticism books. And the next one I got was Gender and Power by R.W. Connell. I basically don't know anything about this book because I got it for free. It was just given to me. It has a lot of different feminist essays and theories in it, so I'm hoping that this will be really useful for me to dip in and out of, because a lot of the work I'm doing for my degree at the minute is based around gender and patriarchy and sexism. And the final book that I'm going to talk about was the last book that I picked up on that Cardiff trip. Remember that Cardiff trip? And that is The Road to Middlemarch, My Life with George Eliot by Rebecca Mead. As you may be aware, I love Middlemarch. I think it's fantastic, and this is a book about the impact on Middlemarch. It is the celebration of how literature can make our lives more fulfilling, specifically focused on Middlemarch. When I studied Middlemarch, I dipped in and out of a library copy of this a little bit, but I've never read the full thing cover to cover, and I'm really looking forward to doing it. I love Middlemarch. It's so good. So there are all the physical books that I've picked up over the past couple of months. There are quite a few. I'm looking at the pile right now, and I'm gonna have to take a thumbnail holding this stack of books. Do be sure to let me know what you thought of this haul, and if there are any books in this that I need to get to really, really soon. I hope you're doing well, and I will see you guys in a few days.